go.
You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker, what you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Decisive Game 5 of the WNBA Finals with the Fever in mind later on tonight. That is something I'm sure we shall discuss over the course of the afternoon. The blasting of the WNBA commissioner I find kind of funny. The worst leadership is how that's been described. I don't know if people would have much of an argument with that. Not being able to handle anything. The level of prosperity. Afternoon baseball, end of 7, best of 3, wild card in the AL. Detroit 2, Cleveland 1. In Cleveland. Padres and Cubs from Wrigley just about set to get underway. You've got the Red Sox and the Yankees tonight at 6. And everybody's red legs. I believe this to be the 1-year anniversary of the passing of Pete Rose. And game 1 of the NL wild card with the Reds and the Dodgers from Chavez Ravine later on tonight. Tucker Barnhart's going to join us. He's going to break down a lot of these games. We'll talk about this. His former team, certainly the Reds, Hunter Green and Blake Snell. So I'm looking at this right now, and I just said to Eddie Garrison, who's also a noted Reds fan here in this building, that you need about 7+ strong, if not love the whole way, and plus 10 strikeouts. You watch, that will be the stat line of Blake Snell tonight. Probably. Hey, it's a tremendous challenge. This is what we love about this time of year because everything is going on, right? You're even officially underway with the NBA season. As we talked about yesterday, too, I mean, even with the quotes on the media days throughout the NBA, Miles is going to make November the 3rd on a Monday at Gainbridge Fieldhouse even more interesting than it was going to be anyway. Honestly, it didn't have to be this way. I kind of wonder if he was taking advice from whomever was giving Victor Oladipo advice. Now, granted, I'm from the grudge holding club unanimous. I am. And that's clearly what's going on here. But man, you're singeing absolutely everything. Now, again, it was already singed. We'll get to that story coming up a little bit later on as well. Lou Anarumo, the other coordinators, along with Shane Steichen, the other coordinator, along with Shane Steichen, met with the media a little bit earlier today. I heard Lou Anarumo mention that had they had 11 guys on the field, that long touchdown pass play from Stafford to Atwell probably still would have happened with Blackman falling down. I don't know if anybody feels any better about that. I don't know if anybody feels any better about how, quote, from Shane Steichen, having 10 men on the field, that can't happen. You just got to move on. Here's what you have to worry about. It's one thing to go out there and really screw yourself in a variety of ways. From A.D. Mitchell a couple of different times to that particular play. Xavier Howard, who it kind of seems like Lou Anarumo, I don't know how strongly in defense of him he has been. I don't know who's going to be the bench quicker, A.D. Mitchell or Xavier Howard. Guess it depends on who you find out there. Hey, Edwards is a guy, and I heard Rick Venturi last night on Colts Roundtable Live. I would be interested to see him out there on more regular detail. I think we know from what we have seen from Howard what he's capable of doing. So why not another avenue? And does it always have to be somebody with a past connection to the defensive coordinator that played in the system, that played in the scheme? Does it have to be that way? We'll talk about that. Greg Rakestraw is going to join us coming up at the bottom of the hour. With that, the weekend that is going to be college with IU on a bye week. And again, as we mentioned yesterday and talked about IU and Iowa over the weekend, that is absolutely a game that, historically speaking, IU would lose. And I know exactly how IU fans felt. The IU fans of football felt, you know what, this is a hell of a gauge. It's a hell of a gauge to find out if what we witnessed a year, if it's even more reinforced as real. Because that Iowa game, historically speaking, is exactly one that IU football in the past would lose. And even if you want to blame the shortcomings on Iowa, I don't care. The outcome remains the same. You go in there and you get a win. You take a bye week in preparation for Oregon and then see if you have anything for the Quacks coming up a week from Saturday in Eugene. But that to me was a gauge, because you kind of want to fall into, don't you? It's just like with the Colts. You expect the same until it's proven differently. And Kurt Cignetti, he did prove that a year ago, but it is an ongoing process of proving, and that Iowa game on Saturday I thought was one hell of a gauge. Good feel for IU football fans. That's proving. Same thing's going to happen with Purdue. With Barry Odom, you're going to have to prove that you're not like what you have been. And it works both ways. Matt Painter will have to prove to everybody that he's not at the highest of levels what he has been. Know what I mean? Meaning he will be given the benefit of the doubt if something goes haywire. You know, anybody else in these situations where you're coming from basically the bottom and trying to raise this thing back up, especially if you're talking about the history of IU football, you're always going to have to prove yourself. I don't think you have to learn or to create any more believers, but there's always that next test until you're solidified as to who you are. And then you have to prove to everybody that you're not after that. It just all makes sports sense in this era, especially of this era of overanalyzing, which is exactly what we do. I will suggest that in terms of the Pacers. A lot of people have asked me, and I heard Aaron Neesmith. I was there yesterday at Pacer Media Day. You know, he talked about, here we are once again. Nobody believes in us. Nobody thinks we're going to be good enough. Therefore, we're in a very familiar position of having to prove ourselves again. Some teams are just going to be like that. And I don't think that's just the world of the NBA. You know, all the dorks online or the yoinks in the NBA office that put the schedules together, that, you know, you don't get the NBA Finals team, you know, in a game on Christmas Day. You're not showcasing it because Tyrese Halliburton is not playing this season. I had this belief a year ago about this group, and although not to a similar level, I still have a deeply rooted belief in the group that is there right now. To compete at a much higher level than what they're given credit to be. And that's what they're playing off of with me. I mean, with the Colts, you're just kind of working off of being a tweener or below. With the Pacers, for me, you're working off of exactly how we want to see a basketball team play, perform, act, be, even in a tough 7-game series loss in the NBA Finals. But I believe in that. I love when Rick Carlisle talked yesterday about how they were going to play, and he had mentioned, I'm paraphrasing here, I quoted it and sent it out because this is one of my favorite quotes of all time, but I'll paraphrase it here. They want to keep it simple and play fast. I love that. I love that in basketball. Simple and fast. Keep up the pace and keep things simple. I just think they're capable of doing that. So I'm a believer, whereas basically the rest of the basketball world and many around here are non-believers of it. Colts get the Raiders coming up this weekend. The voice of the Raiders, Jason Horowitz, will join us coming up a little bit later on in the show. If you watch the Raiders go down literally in flames in Vegas over the weekend, normally, and we've seen this before with Daniel Carlson, normally their special teams with Tom McMahon, you know very well, and their whole operation in the past has been very fluid, very top-notch. It was not as an end result and ultimately cost them a game with the Bears. This is a team that many, including their play-by-play voice, felt was going to be a lot better, and to this point has not been. Pete Carroll, the head coach, is a savvy and certainly in the past successful head coach, but they have not found it. A talented rookie running back they're still trying to figure out how to use. You have a high-level former head coach and former coordinator in Chip Kelly that's dialing up the plays. What you have from a Colts angle is a team that you need to beat. And the quickest way to wipe the slate clean from last week and to help people of misery forget about how that loss went down in L.A., because that was certainly a game in which they could have and arguably should have won. And it more feels like a game that group is not ready to win. That's concerning. They could, but it didn't seem like that they were ready for a variety of reasons. Whether you're talking about A.D. Mitchell or offensive line penalties or A.D. Mitchell or 10 men on the field or what the hell are you doing with Howard against Nakua again and over in big situations, what the hell? You get all this new and fresh feeling defensively, and they're doing things differently, and they're scheming, they're blitzing, and then you go out there and put the same old. I heard Rick talking last night. There were certain situations that you thought maybe at times it was a revert back to what we had seen in recent history defensively. Yeah, you don't want that. But it is something that this team still has to prove. And the quickest way to make L.A. a memory is to do it against a team at home that you really should. You really should. You had even people nationally suggesting this Colts team is legit even in a loss. Most of the people out there were kind of looking for a reason not to like him, a reason because of the schedule, a reason because it's been easy. The reason why they're 3-1, or at that moment, the reason why they're 3-0, it wasn't so much their level of play, but it's just some concentration and focus and really the art of jacking around a lot of situations that ended up costing them. You either make it up coming up on Sunday, and really the next 2 weeks, if you want to factor that in with the Cardinals, you either make it up or you give it up. And you become who people, some out there, believe you to be against that level of competition. We'll talk about that. Jason Horowitz is the voice of the Raiders, and they've got a lot going on right now, too. I mean, defensively, obviously you're going to hard target Max Crosby if you're the Colts offense and the offensive line, because if there is one asset that this Raiders team has been this season, it's not been so much Geno Smith and their offense, it has been their defense. Local product and Jeremy Chin in that secondary, the safety from Fishers. But the guy that gets it all started, the guy that draws the double teams, the guy that draws the most focus, and then others end up being very good, very positive, playing off of that is Max Crosby. And we'll talk about that with the voice of the Raiders that is coming up In the 5 o'clock hour, don't go anywhere. BullseyeEventGroup.com and the Colts VIP tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. You guys have asked. We do have passes to give away over the course of the afternoon. So passes for BullseyeEventGroup.com and the Colts VIP tailgate. I did want to give a shout out. I heard from so many of you over the weekend because if you remember last week, we gave away passes. If you were going out to Southern California to make it a weekend getaway, a weekend trip to watch the Colts and the Rams, we wanted to make sure you had the opportunity to win passes to the Rams VIP tailgate because Kyle Kinnett puts that on with Bullseye as well. And I got so much feedback in pictures and in notes from those that won and the experience. Job well done. I was kind of wondering how that was ultimately going to work. And the good part about it is it worked. Now, we'll do it again, but certainly in your own backyard. Colts VIP tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. We've got passes to give away for the pregame party that's going to make your game day experience. Right across the street, right across Capitol from Lucas Oil Stadium of Bullseye. EventGroup.com. I brought this up with Jake in the crossover. Link star Nafisa Collier blasted WNBA leadership in her exit interview today, accusing League Commissioner Kathy Engelbert of being negligent in her governance. But that. She also alleged that Engelbert, this is classic right here, told her in a private conversation that superstar Caitlin Clark and other young standouts, quote, should be on their knees in gratitude for the platform the league has given them. See, and most would understand that you need to switch that thought around. You should be on your knees in gratitude because now somebody finds any level of interest in your league. Right? Any level, any decent level of interest, you've got to find new leadership. You've got to find somebody to get control of this thing. Now, it's funny for us to kind of sit back and watch this transpire, but just seems like on any level, things have not been handled the way that it should, I guess. I mean, is it one of those things where you maybe reach out to leadership of, I mean, give me the example of a business that absolutely overnight went from 0 to 60, just skyrocketed overnight, and how you end up handling that because you have to handle it both in the moment and with an eyeball on the future. On their knees. You've got this platform. I mean, hell, anybody out there could probably, if they had deep enough pockets, create a platform, couldn't they? It's funny. Everybody talks about the officiating and how bad it is. I get news for you. Oftentimes, it's bad anyway. Oftentimes in the NBA, it's bad. Like, that's the least of my worry. You can figure that out. This is something that I don't know if you're going to figure out unless you do a quick change, no pun intended, halftime shows in leadership here. How does that work? WNBA semifinals tonight. The decisive Game 5 is in Vegas. Eddie Garrison is going to take you up to the start of that game with John Nolan and Bria Goss on the call right here. Whatever happens, your toes are still tapping. It's a good position to be. It really is. Quoting Mike Damone, it's a good position to be. You go out there and you win. Nobody thinks you're going to. Nobody expected you to with all the injuries. And if you don't, you reload with healthy bodies coming up next year and maybe some newfound leadership and guidance that will not have this entire league from top to bottom looking as spastic as hell. Spastic is not a good way to describe how the league looks. Eddie Garrison's got you for the pregame show coming up later on tonight, the decisive game number 5. I will mention this, too. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, and you guys have all sent me stuff regarding Miles and what Miles said in Milwaukee. This stuff regarding being embraced by the fans or being embraced by the organization, it is all about holding a grudge. You're going to say, well, they had Turner's block and everybody loved him and they chanted his name. Here's what actually happened. What actually happened here is you propped him when they won and you blamed him when they lost. And for Miles, and to his ultimate detriment, Miles soaked up just the highest form, the highest level of jackassery on social. He soaked it up with the good, but it never, ever made it up for the negative. That's what he's talking about. And then also you hold a grudge for an organization that, in your mind, constantly had you in trade situations, constantly was looking for something more. And then you factor in, 3-4 years ago, DeAndre Ayton and the offer sheet. So he's working off a grudge. And I know this to be true because I'm a card-carrying member of the Grudge Holding Foundation. So I know exactly how that is. Now, to me, you guys are all bent out of shape for the wrong thing. Who cares? Yeah, his focus is more on what he had witnessed, what he had read, what he soaked up in socials after bad games, after losses. And that world is rotten with jackasses. So if you're thinking, I'm in Turner's block and I cheered for him every game, or I went to the game and I cheered, he's not talking about you. But what he sees is the overall view of everybody in social. And what he's getting back on is that. And he's getting a little payback organizationally, too. Probably not letting them negotiate and getting that offer and bolting in July when he did was also get back or payback to the organization for him not being embraced to the level on which he wanted. But again, you guys are all arguing or you're all pissed about the wrong thing. Here's where you should be mad, because that is, if not one of your favorite teams of all time, your favorite teams of all time. And the way he went out on his teammates, the way he mentioned, I'm going someplace that values talent and they want to remain competitive. That's the crap I don't like. All this other stuff, to me, is baloney. Who cares? But it is about this team that I hold in the highest of regard from last year. And every single moment, anytime you ever open your mouth, you should be thankful you're a part of one of the most glorious teams that we have ever known around here. One of the most enjoyable runs that we have ever known, even if it led to the popped Achilles and a lost season for your superstar. The glory is still there. We will always have those memories. That is what pisses me off. Because I thought that was a direct shot at the guys he was leaving behind. And he should embrace that every single moment. I don't care what happens on November the 3rd or how the fans treat him or how he's treated on social. But I do care what he says about my favorite team of all time. And one of the, if not the most enjoyable runs to a decisive 7th game of the NBA Finals in any team sport we have ever witnessed around here. I do take offense to that. And that, to me, is where you should locate any form of anger. All this other stuff, who cares? But that's what that's all about. And as an end result, a couple of things are going to have to happen. November the 3rd, he's going to have to prove it here, and then he's going to have to prove that embrace and that celebration of him in Milwaukee over the course of the year. and have to do some things that, simply put, consistently here, he hasn't been able to do without help. There's going to be a lot on his shoulders that, honestly, this guy has never been able to accomplish when it's all been on his shoulders. So that is going to be the ultimate tale of the tape. All right, 239-1070 is that number. The email address is jmv@1075thefan.com. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Become a AAA member today. You know this to be true. It's just about time for fall break. You're going someplace. Make sure somebody has your back on the open road. AAA does. My friends Matt and Matt gotcha. Become a AAA member. Do that today, AAA.com, or stop by a AAA office here in the Indianapolis area. 317-239-1070. That is the text slot if you want to jump in as well. We've got a lot to talk about over the course of the afternoon. Greg Rakestraw, bottom of the hour. Tucker Barnhart, MLB postseason coming up at 4. And Jason Horowitz, who is the play-by-play voice of the Raiders, coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Bullseye passes, Kansas, the group tickets to give away as well coming up over the course of this show. The stream, the app, HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Ride with JMV.
If somebody gets in your face and calls you a I want you to be nice.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Well, I mean, they got two elite receivers. They both had the same targets coming into the game. One had 35, one had 31, I think, so very similar. Puka had more catches, but the targets were the same, and I think at the end of the day, they were going to attack the way they attack regardless. So I think that, that was we got a veteran in Devontae Adams. Certainly Puka's a guy that we thought we can match up. Nobody can match up with him, but we were trying to help over there too. So, I think that at the end of the day, that was the reason why we did it. Mooney on Devontae. And then there were certain times where we were just left and right, and it just played into it the way the matchups ended up. So, but the targets were even coming in, and I think Matthew just found something in the rhythm of it. And, there was a lot of underneath throws. He did hit the one double move, later in the game. But, we just got to do a better job overall.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, that's Lou Anarumo earlier today, by the way. I'm just thinking best on the best. Your best, their best. I think that was, no, people are going to say, well, that's second guessing. No, we were doing that during the game, too. Raiders Colts coming up this weekend. The ride to kickoff starts at 9 a.m. The Bullseye Event Center from me with bullseyeeventgroup.com. And then touchdown town we go for the Colts pregame huddle. The Padres push across a run on an error. Bottom of 2, they lead the Cubs. That best of 3 NL wild card game at Wrigley Field in Chicago, 1-0. And top of the 9th inning, I know that the Tigers have runners on second and third right now, and no longer do they. Cleveland trailing the Tigers by a run as they go to the bottom of the 9th inning in the AL wild card. We shall keep you updated. The Redlegs later on tonight, Chavez Ravine, where we need Hunter Green with a 12K complete game. And don't reverse this on me, baseball gods, because I'm a fan of the Reds, and give that to Blake Snell tonight. All right, don't do it. Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline. He is also a Reds fan. Our friend Greg Rakestraw joins us. See, I'm worried about it. That's what I'm calling for from the baseball gods in Game 1 in L.A. tonight. I want it for Hunter Green. I just hope they don't reverse that and give it to Blake Snell.
So my thought is that making the playoffs is probably or should not have been likely to happen, but it did. And in previous years when there has been the weight of expectations, things have not gone well. This time, there really are no expectations. So you're playing with house money. So let's go see if we can steal 2 in Los Angeles.
Well, you can still go a complete game and strike out 12 with house money in my house.
Good to know.
I want to see a significant purpose served in game number 1, because I do think you still obviously you said. Do they have a lot to prove? Yeah, because they barely squeaked in. I mean, they backed in like Michael Jackson on a 1984 moonwalk on Motown 25, but they're there. So it'd be great if they made a little bit of noise and just wouldn't bow out as easily as most believe that they're going to out in Southern California. That is Greg Rakestraw with us. Hey, Greg, over the weekend, college football-wise, I described IU's win in Iowa City as I thought it was significant because that is a game, historically speaking, and basically forever, that they go up and lose in the fashion in which I think a lot of folks, including their own fan base, felt that they were going to lose during that game.
Indiana has almost turned into the mid-2000s Colts, where they just don't lose games they're not supposed to lose. Like when you would have, those 12 and 13 win seasons for the Colts, you would have like once in 3 or 4 years a game like where they lost Jacksonville. Kurt Cignetti's group has been amazing in terms of beating the teams they're supposed to beat. Now, again, that sounds like Iowa's a back-of-the-pack team. They're not. They're pretty much a mid-level team in the Big Ten, but not an easy place to play. And that was reflected into the type of game that it was. But it's Indiana checking another box to remain undefeated heading into the bye week.
Yeah, it was definitely. I thought, people kind of look at it. They were mad at the play calling, mad at this and mad at that, and gave excuses for Iowa backup quarterback and their play calling as well. I just thought that, again, from what we have witnessed from the past, a grinded out game, which you knew exactly that's what you were going to get. Iowa takes that, but this is obviously, as we know, since last year, a brand new situation in Bloomington. It just is.
Correct. And frankly, from the Iowa perspective, I'm pretty sure their game plan is going to be the exact same regardless of whom the quarterback is. Pretty sure by now we have kind of a beat on what a Kirk Ferentz called game is going to look like.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Greg Rakestraw is with us. I think it's Jose Ramirez. Just a little knock. That error, he goes from first to third, as with nobody out in the bottom of the ninth representing the tying run. Just a great play. I think it was Baez at shortstop. Torkelson couldn't come up with the bouncer, the pick at first, and it goes to the side, and Ramirez goes all the way to third with nobody out. That's a brutal start of the bottom of the ninth inning with a one-run lead for the Tigers and the Indians. Greg Rakestraw is on the Andy Moore. I should say the Guardian, sorry. Greg Rakestraw is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Boilermakers coming off a bye week and getting Illinois. What have you made of Barry Odom in year number one in West Lafayette to this point, Greg?
About as expected. Significant progress has been made, but it's a significant gulf that they have to cover. So they took care of business against the two teams you felt they were going to beat. As the schedule kind of starts to shape up, there's a couple of games left in their schedule. Like, hey, I think they got a chance to get that one too. I thought for them, 3 wins or more was going to be the sign of a good year. They might be able to get that number to 4 or 5. I don't see a scenario they're going to be a bowl team and get to 6 wins. I think this is a game that they can get, especially kind of coming off of that bye week. But they're about as expected, and I mean that as a compliment towards Barry Odom and staff.
So Greg Rakestraw with us. Notre Dame on the road in Fayetteville, playing so well that you get
a coach fired.
Arkansas's coach fired, and Bobby Petrino, the ultimate snake of any coaching level, takes over on the interim basis there. Notre Dame gets Boise State back at home this weekend,
which is cool to see Boise State there. Obviously, it's kind of not the program that it was even 4 or 5 years ago. But still a quality program and a unique and different matchup. I like that.
High school football, stretch run, regular season, right here. Above all else, what has stood out to you to this point at the highest of levels in each class, if you want to detail it that way?
We have a definitive favorite in 5A, that being New Pal. We have, I think, maybe now more of a definitive favorite in 4A in Chittard. Just because Gibson Southern beat Heritage Hills last week doesn't mean Heritage Hills is bad, but you kind of compare the loss game. Gibson Southern is a really good 3A team, which is the class that Heritage Hills should be in. They have bumped up the success factor, just like Chittard has done the same to play in 4A, but maybe the 4A lean is a bit more to Chittard. In terms of 6A, again, there to me are 3 definitive teams, and if you're from the northern part of Indiana, you would throw Crown Point in there. I do think there is a gap from, say, Brownsburg, Center Grove, Carmel, to then Crown Point, who would be 4th. But again, those teams all have a path where they could get to the semi-state. However, the next couple of weeks, I'm going to see those next couple of teams that are right underneath of those guys. So our game this week is Warren Central at Lawrence North, both teams 5-1. Both teams undefeated in the MIC. That is going to be the MIC championship game because that is Warren's last conference game. They finished with Carmel and Cathedral in non-conference play to end the season. Then I'll see Warren turn around and play Carmel next week. Having seen Warren, are they as good as they were last year on defense? No. Is their defense still really good? Yes. And that's going to have to kind of carry them against 2 pretty potent offenses in Lawrence North and Carmel. So in 6A, we've kind of got multiple teams that I could tell you have a path to a championship. You get to 4A and 5A, there is kind of definitively one favorite, especially here in the local area.
So Center Grove and Cathedral, they have a common theme, I guess, in their schedule. A couple of Trotwoods. How do you gauge the Trotwoods with Cathedral and Center Grove for the matchup on Friday night?
Trotwood is a really good program out of the Dayton area. and looking for somebody to play. So not that far away, end up playing both of those games. Center Grove has found ways to overcome losing some key pieces to injury as the season has gone along. Cathedral, young offense, so they're kind of learning on the fly. Again, they're a team where their defense, I think to some degree, has to carry them. I would give a lean towards Center Grove in this game, but it's never easy when you play Cathedral, John.
Lou Anarumo, I don't know if you heard that when you were on hold to come in regarding the matchups and, why he didn't have one-on-one in this case with Ward and Nakua. Is his explanation, is that good enough for you? Do you understand it?
I'm not sure it needs to be good enough for me. I just say I would disagree with it. I think the conditions of that game would have dictated at some point in time. You could have plan A and plan B, going into a game. I'll try to give credit where this is due. I think Chris Carter was the originator of this phrase. I think it was cat coverage time. Hey, Mooney, go cover that cat, the guy wearing number 12.
Yeah.
And we'll see if in future games maybe that is I wouldn't say a lesson learned, but maybe a tack that is adopted a bit quicker by Lou. Again, that situation is indicative of everybody involved on Sunday. Sunday was one they let get away. Big picture, this team is still further along than almost anybody would have given them credit for going into the month of September. If you had told somebody before September the 7th, hey, 3-1 at September, you'd say, absolutely, let's go to October. You can be disappointed with what happened on Sunday. Big picture, they're fine. This week is now, all right, are you going to see the team from the first 3 weeks of the season or the team that gave one away this past Sunday?
Yeah, I said this. You can't jack around with this one or the Cardinals. The whole gauge, I thought that they were right there with the Rams, except they did themselves in on Sunday. Now it's up to you to prove even more this is who you're going to be against teams that you have no business, let's face it, losing to at home back-to-back.
John, they gave away 18 points to one of the better teams in the league. Obviously, the Adonai Mitchell touchdown. Obviously, the touchdown where you had 10 players in the field and you had a defender slip to compound that. Other thing that kind of got lost in the shuffle was the touchdown that the Rams scored with 7 seconds left to go in the first half. That's one where you kind of look up and see down, distance, and score, and basically go, hey, don't let anybody get behind you. Keep everybody in front of you. Do not allow a pass completion in the end zone. Make them kick a field goal so you have a 10-9 lead going into halftime. So 18 points were handed to the Rams, and you lost by 7. And I think the Rams might be one of the best 5 teams in the league. So, again, in a backhanded way, that tells you can play with the best, but this is not a team that is good enough to be able to make those type of mistakes and win football games. Better than they have been, but still not. They don't have the biggest margin for error, John.
He is Greg Rakestraw. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, and he is preparing for a much better conversation to be had on the Colts postgame show with Bill Brooks coming up this Sunday than I'm assuming what they had this past Sunday. So that's what we're looking forward to.
I hope so, and I think I got to stop by and see you on Friday because I'm pretty sure that there is no way in the world you could do the show any closer to my house.
Great.
Than doing the show from Binkley's on Friday afternoon.
Good. Yeah, we'll have. I will, because you probably have to work later on. But yeah, I'll have maybe 2 for you and ice cold Bud Lights, and we'll have a little discussion out of Binkley's on Friday. How about that?
You have 2 ready for me. You can have the second one. I'll enjoy one, and I'll see you Friday.
You got that right. Can't wait to see you, buddy.
See ya.
Greg Rakestraw's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. How about the Tigers surviving up a run, 2-1, nobody out, runner on third. They get a strikeout and then a ground out back to the pitcher, and Ramirez was going on contact, got tagged out going home. And then a fly out. Tigers 2-1 over the Guardians. AL wild card. Cubs and Padres, we'll keep you updated on that. JMV, let's go Redlegs from Gladiator Roof. Shout out to Gladiator Roofing. Let's go Redlegs from Gladiator Roofing. JMV, Graham from Avon here. I'm still a little confused on why Lou didn't put Ward on Nakua if he knew coming into the week that Adams was dealing with the hamstring, so why not put the old guy on the old receiver? I don't think anybody's going to buy what was said today. That was just not a great way to try to use one of your best players on the team in terms of Ward here. Should have been one-on-one. We all can understand that. Quick one, we'll come back. Tucker Barnhart, the former Major Leaguer on the Major League Baseball postseason, including the Reds and the Cubs and Padres in progress. We'll talk to Tucker, top of the hour. Jason Horowitz is the voice of the Raiders. He joins us in the 5 o'clock hour. Bullseye passes, too. Hey, don't go anywhere. On the other side, the whole WNBA thing, which is there's zero way that this commissioner is going to survive this. In my opinion, we shall see. But the Fever, a potential move on to the WNBA Finals with a team and a list of injuries nobody ever thought. That opportunity is there in Vegas tonight. We'll talk that up and then some coming up next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Ding dong.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
At Unrivaled this past February, I sat across from Kathy and asked how she planned to address the officiating issues in our league. Her response was, well, only the losers complain about the refs. I also asked how she planned to fix the fact that players like Caitlin, Angel, and Paige, who are clearly driving massive revenue for the league, are making so little for their first 4 years. Her response was, Caitlin should be grateful she makes $16 million off the court, because without the platform that the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't make anything. And in that same conversation, she told me players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the media rights deal that I got them.
There you go. That's Lavisha Collier of the Lynx in her...
No, I think it's Nafisa.
Nafisha, yeah. Lord have mercy. The quote is the best here. Caitlin should be grateful she makes $16 million off the court because without that platform that the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't make anything. Players should be on their knees thanking for the media rights deal I got them. This is not going to end well for Kath right here. Not at all. Yeah, 5-time, WNBA All-Star Nafisha Collier, by the way. Now, I will ask this. What do we think? Where do we stand on the whole private conversation being taken to the public right here? We okay with that? I guess we're okay with that, aren't we? Man. What a mess. And you know what? The great part about it is, at least tonight for you, you get a decisive Game 5. And it's going to be, I'm going to say just about basketball, but it won't be. It's going to be about the officiating too, because it always is, right? With a WNBA game. Make your layups. See what happens at the end. That's what I'm suggesting. JMV, have you watched the Charlie Sheen 2-part documentary on Netflix? Pretty good, but it makes me dislike Alan Harper even more. Yeah, I'm assuming that John Cryer thought that a lot was left on the table, and see, Fitch, he probably had to deal with a lot. And I think a lot of people view him through a political lens, so to speak, right here, with how outspoken he is. But he probably had some reasons over the course of that. And he probably just wasn't able to sit back and go, hey, great, this is funny Charlie Sheen stuff. Like all of us would. But no, I have not watched that yet, to be honest with you. JMV, the way Turner left makes me wonder if he tanked in the finals purposely. No, there's no way you play that bad and you do that purposely. There's no way. There was nothing purposely done. It was just, hey, I'm sucking. Philo. Nothing purposely done except for this. It is back for the fall and the football season of 2025. The spreadability of Win Schuler's purposely done and purposely found. You're on the lookout with that purpose. Meyer locations throughout central Indiana, you'll find it too. Gordon's Food Service, that's Win Schuler's spreadability in your favorite grocer's refrigerator.
You couldn't possibly be any dumber. You go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
The Cubs got out of a little bit of a mess. Runners at the corners and one out. Dansby Swanson at short with a nice over-the-shoulder catch. And the Manny Machado-led Padres turn back in the top of the fourth inning, still leading 1-0 game one of the NL Wild Card with the Padres and Cubs at Wrigley Field. One game in the books, the Tigers 2, the Guardians 1 in their AL encounter in Cleveland a little bit earlier today. Still to come tonight, Red Sox and Yankees at 6 o'clock. And all of our Redlegs, all of us, we're all together. The Reds and the Dodgers coming up from Chavez Ravine. That is at 9 o'clock. By the way, this interesting tidbit, JMV, a one-year anniversary. Pete Rose's death. Blake Snell dominated the Reds last time out, equals the Reds win. New pal JR. I dig that thinking. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, he is the former MLBer. I think all he does now is just hang around, drink bourbon, and watch TV and listen to this show. His name is Tucker Barnhart, who's with us now. Hello, Tuck.
Hey, man, what's going on? You forgot one thing: golf.
Golf.
And I guess 8U assistant baseball coaching. I got to add that one in there too.
Oh yeah, man. That's you live a hell of a life right there. I'm jealous. Let me tell you.
I'm lucky, man. Very lucky.
I am. I'm jealous. Are you watching postseason so far?
I haven't watched. I was on the golf course today during the first game. Caught the highlights, and then I've got the Cubs and the Padres on kind of in the back. But I'll be tuning in this evening to Red Sox Yankees, and I will certainly be watching Dodgers Reds later tonight.
We'll get to that in just a second. I do want to mention this that whole Tigers Guardians game. To me, you watch the Tigers get out to the hottest of hot starts, and then almost pull an absolute El Foldo. And when they got to that 2-1 lead, they go to Vest in the ninth, and then Ramirez with a little dribbler gets all the way to third, nobody out. I thought it was something for the Tigers to work out of that and not give up the tying run. I think that says something about a team that, for the most part, in the second half of the season has scuffled mightily.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can – as a player, and I'm certain as a fan, you can see the wheels wobbling, or you can harken back to the last month when you see that happen. You see a guy get to third base, especially against a team that chased you down in somewhat historical proportions, having a 15.5 game lead. I think it was as of July 1 for them to chase you down and end up winning the division. You can certainly say, here we go again. But then for them to get out of that, I would assume, especially knowing some of the guys in that room for the Tigers, that AJ had them ready to play. Obviously, Skubal was great today, but they were able to overcome that, which, to your point, I think is huge, kind of moving forward in a shorter 3-game series, just like an extension of the regular season.
Do you like the playoff format the way that it is now?
I certainly like it a lot better than it used to be, with the wild card game being only one. I mean, you play 162 games, which I think that's too many, and that's a conversation for another day, another time. But to make an entire 162 game season come down to one game, where anything can truly happen, I think kind of sucked. And I'm glad that they made a change to where it is now. And I'm pretty fond of how it is now.
I will tell you this: the 4-5 matchup in the NL, you could probably say that across the board, right? But this is it's a tough call for the Cubs against a very talented Padres team. They're not the same as we have seen the past couple of years, but some similar high-level pieces are there. That's a tough one for them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, winning the division, just like in any other sport, is obviously of the utmost importance. And when you don't do that, whether it be somebody runs out and hides like the Brewers did in the Central, or the Dodgers do year after year after year, for the most part, in the NL West, it makes it tough, but you got to kind of play the cards that you're dealt. And unfortunately for the Cubs, who had such a good year, it lends them in a situation to where they're playing a 3-game series against, to your point, a very talented Padres team. You can say the same about the Red Sox and the Yankees in the AL. I mean, it's a somewhat similar situation to where you got a team battling for the best record in not only the American League, but the best record in baseball in the Yankees, and now they're playing in a 3-game series with their lives on the line. So it's fun.
Here's Tucker Barnhart on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. MLB's playoffs officially underway today, as I mentioned in the AL. Cleveland loses 2-1 to the Tigers in that first game, and then you got the Cubs and the Padres going right now, with the Padres a 1-0 advantage. Bottom of the fourth as the Cubs bat with 1 out in the bottom of the fourth inning at Wrigley Field. Of those that kind of lie in wait here, whether we're talking about, you mentioned the Brewers or the Phillies or the Blue Jays or the Mariners, who most interests you? And I'll start with this, because you have compelling stories across the board there. But I love the Blue Jays because there are so many legacy dudes on that team. Like former guys that I watched, that I grew up watching, that are my age really, that their kids are now play. It's kind of, to me, I think it's an amazing group to watch.
Yeah, it's fun. They definitely play a very fun brand of baseball with Bo Bichette, with Vladdy Jr. I'm a big fan of Alejandro Kirk behind the plate. I don't think he gets talked about nearly enough for good reasons. I think he is an exceptional hitter, and behind the plate, I don't know this. I would assume that he's going to be in the top 3 for AL Gold Glove behind the plate, if not win it. But I'm a major fan of his. The Blue Jays are a fun team. I played with Kevin Gausman in Cincinnati. Always root for him. Chris Bassett, who I'm not sure if he's back yet or not. I played with in the minor leagues in the Arizona Fall League. So I root for those guys that I've played with that are good dudes, and they definitely play a fun brand of baseball, and they are going to be a fun team to watch here in the playoffs. That bye, though, the bye is tough. It's you essentially get almost a week of time off, and you don't get that at all during the regular season. Obviously, even on the All-Star break, it's not even that long. And so I was with the Dodgers briefly in the minor leagues in 23 after I got released with the Cubs, and I was on a taxi squad of sorts, or a practice squad of sorts, and we went to we were in Arizona kind of staying ready as insurance policies, and we went to LA to kind of scrimmage the big league team, us and a few other minor leaguers, and they ended up coming out of that and getting beat by the eventual NL pennant winning Diamondbacks. And that layoff seemed to zap any bit of the momentum or energy that the team had. And it's an interesting thing to watch here kind of as we move into the division series.
I've always said that regarding the NFL. Is there's something comparable here about getting that running start if you're a wild card team compared to, even if you go into it and the team that is waiting for you, the higher seed is having the home field advantage. Is there something to be said about already having those games, especially if they're tough games under your belt in preparation?
I definitely think so. I think you let's use the Reds, for example. I think they played really well down the stretch. Obviously didn't win the last game of the year, but thankfully they didn't have to. I think I looked it up. I think they're 8-3 in their last 11, playing really well, swept the Cubs in Cincinnati. Hunter Green was great against them. I mean, you look at a team like that who they have all the odds against them, I guess I would say, when you play a team like the Dodgers with all the star power and names that they have. But you look at those games, if they can squeak that series out, if they can move on, you look at a team that's going to be hot, that's going to be confident, and you saw it with the Diamondbacks in 23. They beat the Dodgers and they won their wild card series. They end up beating the Dodgers in the division, and they make it all the way to the World Series. So it's one of those things where you never know what can happen if you get in, and that layoff is just so. I mean, obviously it's a gift because you won the division and you get to rest and get guys back that are not healthy. However, it could be a slippery slope if that layoff provides rust.
It is Tucker Barnhart, the former major leaguers. We talked the start of the postseason of Major League Baseball. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You're a former catcher, and you witnessed what Cal Raleigh did this season. How mind-blowing was that to witness?
I mean, it was crazy to watch from afar. You mentioned teams that I thought potentially could make a run, and the Mariners are one of those. And it would be behind, pun fully intended, Cal Raleigh, who had a obviously historic season, and to catch as much as he did, that's the craziest part. I mean, you look at a guy that was well north of 100 games caught. I mean, he seemed like if he wasn't catching, he was DHing. A night game after a day game. And as the season goes, I mean, those turnarounds are quick. I mean, you're looking at a 7:00 game behind the plate that you catch. You get off the field at 10, you get back to the hotel or back to your house 11, and you're not probably able to fall asleep until after midnight. And then if a day game's the next day, you're looking at a 8 a.m. wake up, and you got to be on the field facing 100 as the DH. So it's obviously we get to play a game, or I got to play a game for a living. There are other things that are much more stressful and much more daunting, but being able to have to produce for your team every single day at the level that he did was remarkable to watch.
It's Tucker Barnhart with us. It was absolutely incredible to watch this season.
I mean, a switch hitter too. It's crazy. Maintaining two swings. I mean, I did it, and I gave up hitting right-handed because of how difficult it was.
It is.
So it's just one of those things that you're catching every day. You're maintaining two different swings from both sides of the plate. You're hitting in the middle of the order, and you're hitting over 60 homers in a year, breaking all kinds of catcher records, breaking all kinds of records just in general. It's wild.
How about the season Schwarber had? What did you think about that?
I thought it's great. I thought it was great as well. I think that he absolutely has a case to be made about winning the MVP, which is nuts to say for a DH, which there's absolutely nothing against a DH, but when you're limited in terms of what you're providing your team by not playing in the field, obviously it's not the sexy stats that offensive stats are, but it provides another level of production to your team. And to be mentioned as a guy that could potentially win the MVP that only plays on one side of the ball is wild. I'm pumped for him. Kyle's a great dude. I don't know him, but from playing against him, he's always seemed like a great dude. He always talks to you when you're on the field. So I personally hope he wins it. Being a Midwestern guy, obviously he went to Indiana. I hope he wins it. Not sure that he will, but I thought he had an MVP season for sure.
So you mentioned that you like to root for guys that you know and your friends that are still playing right now. Who among those would be your best of friends? Like, who are you going to root for the most in the postseason here?
I mean, Tyler Stevenson in Cincinnati and the Reds. That's number one for me. Cincinnati obviously drafted me. I made my debut and all the things there. All my firsts were there. So I hope they are this year's Diamondbacks, and I hope they make a run all the way to the World Series. And that would be remarkable for the city. I know people there that are still there, coaches, front office members, all those people. We were down there, and they rolled out the red carpet for me and my family. So obviously I want them to win, no questions asked. You look at guys like all my buddies on the Cubs. Dansby is an A+ guy. Ian Happ, Nico Horner, all those guys are phenomenal. Their pitching coach Tommy Hotovy is great. So I will root for all of those guys. I'm a Mike Schilt fan in San Diego. Obviously they're playing each other, so one of those teams is going to win. But I played against Mike for a long time as a coach for the Cardinals, then a manager for the Cardinals, and then obviously a manager in San Diego. Ultimate respect for him. And then I guess Belly in New York, Cody Bellinger is a great dude. And then some of the guys that I played with in Detroit, obviously root for those guys as well. Skubal he's a horse. He's a back-to-back Cy Young winner in my opinion, and he showed it today.
So Tucker Barnhart's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So you like the pitching way that Francona has this dialed in? I guess Lodolo being used out of the pen. You like the direction they're going with that?
To me, if Nick is healthy enough to be out of the pen, then I would start him. I think him being left-handed, you look at a Dodger lineup of Freddie Freeman and Ohtani, obviously two high-powered left-handed hitters. You got to give yourself a chance to get those guys out multiple times, just playing the platoon advantage with a left-on-left. Maybe they're saving Nick for like a back half of the game type of thing where he's going to face Ohtani and Freeman twice in the latter half of the game. I'm not sure. But if he is, in my opinion, if he is healthy enough to be on the roster and be out of the pen, I think I personally would try to get as many innings out of him as possible. Again, they may. I don't know how they're going to approach it, but I think I would start him. But obviously, you got to go with Hunter first. You were lucky enough to kind of skate the win or go home type of game there in 162 and not have to use him. And so I would assume Hunter's going to have, if everything goes well, he's going to have well north of 100 pitches tonight to try to get that game one out there.
I know this probably happens more than I watch, but certainly I watch the Reds more than anybody else in this case. Why does it seem they swing at a lot of bad balls and then let strikes go by? Why is that? Because that drives me insane.
I think everybody that's ever hit is just constantly tries to figure that out. Why I swing at bad pitches and why I take the good ones. It's a hard question to answer. I know that's a cop out.
That's okay.
To your question, but it could be for a multitude of reasons. It could be an offensive philosophy where you as an offense are selling out to try to hit fastballs that day because of whether it be the guy that you're facing or whatever. And when you sell out to hit fastballs, you have to speed yourself up a little bit. It's the hardest pitch that the pitcher will have. That's I think a little bit common sense. And so I personally of the mindset of there is always a little bit of guessing when you're hitting. And I am also of the mindset that if somebody tells you that they're just seeing the ball and reacting, especially in the major leagues, is a liar. So I think it could be a situation of where organizationally or offensively, their philosophy may be, hey, we're going to try to do as much damage as we possibly can, try to hit as many homers as we possibly can, and take our chances from there. So I think it could be a multitude of reasons again, but it generally, from what I've seen, it's kind of a philosophy of like, we want to be aggressive. We want to get the guy early and take our chances that way.
Yeah. Blake Snell, the last time out, I didn't see this, but somebody had told me that he was really good against the Reds. Tonight, to me, Hunter Green, if you just get a top-notch, as we have witnessed recently, performance from him, man, you can easily put so much pressure on the home team and the Dodgers, who are huge favorites, just by that alone. I'd love for it to work out that way. Rarely with the Reds does it, but hopefully tonight it will. Hopefully.
No, I agree. I agree completely. I think it could be one of those things where if the Reds could get a run, or maybe 2 runs early, and Hunter has his stuff, that it's gonna. We use the term a lot. It gets late early, and the innings and the outs could go by pretty quickly for the Dodgers if the Reds could put some pressure on them. Play, in my opinion, play like they played last year, steal bases, and play their version of I would say small ball, and just run into an out every now and then. Just play aggressively, play with their hair on fire, and I think that would be a way that you could apply some pressure that could make something interesting out there tonight.
All right, Tucker Barnhart, the former Major Leaguer, kind enough to join us. A little breakdown of the start of Major League Baseball's postseason. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So what's the plan later on this week? Little bourbon, little golf, little baseball? What are we doing?
Sierra's out of town right now,
Ooh.
so I'm dad by myself right now. So I'm juggling, trying to coach a baseball practice tonight, and then we got playoff flag football on Thursday. We've got all the sports going on right now. So I will be at most likely a sports field or basketball court of some kind later this week and this weekend.
When is the last time you hung out with Storin?
I saw him. Let's see. I less than a week ago, I think.
Yeah.
Less than a week ago. We got some golf on the books here coming up, and some bourbon coming up too.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I know this to be true because I had his dad on last week, and I mentioned Field of Dreams, and the Mark response is he goes, "Yeah." So the non-drinking response goes,
Right,
"Yeah," but I
go.
mean, hell, it's doing great evidently right now too.
It is. They're doing awesome. I'm pumped for Drew. He's put a lot of time and effort into it. So yeah, I'm pumped. They got some good things down the line too. It's gonna be good.
Yeah. Hey, it's a pleasure, man. We'll stay in touch. Get your requests in on a Saturday night and show up at a live show sometime soon.
Where are you live this week?
I am at Parks Place Pub in Fishers on Thursday with Larceny Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots, and then Binkley's just right there off of College and Broad Ripple coming up on Friday with Bud Light. How about that? Either one of those destination locations for you?
All right. I got the wheels turning right now.
Oh, man, the wheels are – that's all we need is a Tucker Barnhart performance out live with us. Come on, man. Do it.
I know it. I need to do it soon. I will.
Good to hear from you, man. We'll stay in touch.
You too. Talk to you soon.
Tucker Barnhart on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. He was a tremendous dude. Padres still 1-0 as the Cubs now bat in the bottom of the fifth inning. Game 1, best of 3, Wrigley Field in Chicago, the NLWC. This is the wild card round. And it was Detroit on the road in Cleveland winning game number 1. You've got the Red Sox and the Yankees tonight, and you have the Reds and the Dodgers also later on this evening. 239-1070 is that number. 317-239-1070. You can go ahead and log in and send me some questions. That is our text line. We'll get back to the Colts. You got the Fever decisive game 5 in Vegas coming up later on tonight. Yeah, more on some Pacer stuff. Your Miles opinions are kind of off the rails a little bit. I had to make sure I settled everybody down and told you exactly what was going on here. And the Cubs may have just tied it up. They did. Suzuki solo yard. 1-1 right now. Cubs and Padres in the wild card. So things are even at Wrigley Field in Chicago. We'll keep you updated on that, too. We'll come back with your calls and bullseye passes in the next 20 minutes as well. Listen to Win That. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
It's called Sex Panther by Odeon. It's illegal in 9 countries.
It's quite pungent. It stings the nostrils.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, thank you for joining us. But the Cubs go back-to-back jacks in the bottom of the 5th inning, lead 2-1. They go Suzuki and Kelly. And now batting with a 1-run advantage, so they flipped the script on the Padres in game number 1 of the best-of-3 NL wildcard round at Wrigley Field in Chicago. They are batting with 2 outs and a 1-run advantage, bottom of 5, again, from Chicago's north side. I did see this a little bit earlier. James was asking me what we were doing on the JMV takeover this weekend. And we basically do, I noticed this, when we do whatever weekends, that is by far the most popular, because if you listen this weekend, we went from AC/DC to Eazy-E to Motley Crue to Too Short. I think John Summit was mixed in there somewhere. Millennium was in there for all of you EDM fans. I think this Diplo dude was required. I mean, Chainsmokers. It was all over the map, and it's not even so much. I guess we're doing a survey with B about what your favorite. Talk about your favorite shows. Oh yeah, you got to say the JMV takeover every time right here. But I was often curious, what weekends are your favorite? Is it when we do absolutely everything, when we hold it down to the 80s and the 70s, when we do 70s, 80s, and 90s, when we do just 90s? Anybody have a favorite out there? That was my thought when I got that. That's pretty interesting. Shout out to you guys, though. Be back in there coming up on Saturday night. You're so right, JMV. I texted earlier but was not acknowledged. Mitchell, grow up to do your job, catch the football, hand back to the ref, leave the cheering, hot dogging to the fans, apologize to the team, just play the darn game, act like you've been there before. You could be working at a factory like hardworking people do and go watch someone play like you. You would appreciate the fan response. Go Colts, hot rod in Greenwood. That's regarding A.D. Mitchell. This all works out in the fashion that it works out easily with a return from Alec Pierce. There are a lot of people that wanted to cut him and make an example of him. Yeah, it's not really necessary, as we talked about yesterday, is it? I don't think so. I don't think he's the next great thing. But I do think he has some decent skills. You just can't put yourself in that situation. And really, I would more question the team and the coaches and how that could happen twice in the span of 6 months. But as of yesterday, when everybody wanted to get rid of him and cut him, again, with the return of Alec Pierce, if that's what happens from concussion protocol, the attempts or lack thereof will take care of themselves. And we'll find out if he's a healthy scratch coming up on Sunday. I think that's more, to me, of the smart way to deal with it than, hey, just cut him because he's not one of the greatest of all time. Who the hell cares? And look what he's been in the past. You don't necessarily have to do that right now. I don't know why you would. But that's just a thought. Engelbert, JMV, should be on her knees praying that Caitlin Clark doesn't play elsewhere. I don't know where the options are elsewhere, but you just don't want to lose it all together. Nobody cared about it until she and the rivalry with Angel Reese got here. And then we know what happened around here after that. Now, again, people would care about it if you're winning. I'm sure people are going to care about tonight because everybody's already been invested in it. Of an interesting angle, if true, that Nafisha Collier put out there regarding the WNBA commissioner a little bit earlier today. I always find it funny whether or not, you're going to respond to it and go, hey, this is ridiculous. We know why we're interested now as opposed to not being interested prior. And then there are going to be some saying, well, wait a minute, this is a private conversation and you're letting that out. They just need to, together at some point, get a layer of leadership that is capable of getting out of its own way more than just occasionally. That's all you got to do, James.
It does say a lot, I think, that you can't almost dismiss out of hand that Caitlin Clark comment got said. It's been so ridiculous with the league that you can't immediately go, yeah, that doesn't sound like something they would say.
Yeah. It seems like that they've been incapable of handling things. Now, there have been rapid-fire things coming at them. And even when Caitlin Clark was playing, I thought that she handled it certainly as well as anybody could in her position because she always went with I just want to play basketball. And that's what's so unfortunate now because she's unable to play basketball. But that's the stuff that got tired with me. This stuff, and everybody wants to put the officiating on top of the list. I don't put the officiating on top of the list. There are ways you can execute and play through even some of the worst of officiating. And to be surprised that that level of officiating is not great, I don't think anybody should be surprised. But that was from earlier today. JMV, ND looking to get back to 500, over 500 this weekend versus Boise. I brought that up today. Exciting times having two college football teams from your home state in championship contention. This is coming from my man who wants me to talk more. I think it's Jake, more about Notre Dame and the Fighting Irish. I will tell you this. My really good friends and neighbors went to Fayetteville, Arkansas this past weekend. Yes, those of the House of Paradise Day Watson spent the weekend in Fayetteville and saw Notre Dame beat the absolute snot out of Arkansas to the point in which Arkansas fired their head coach and hired the ultimate snake in coaching anywhere, Bobby Petrino, as the interim. The ultimate snake right there. But they went. There's your Notre Dame mention. J-Law says, is this the Engelbert who is a commissioner? No, it is not Mike Engelbert, who was the catcher for the Bad News Bears. Also known as you know, I reference Engel Puke on this show all the time. Engel Puke in the 76 Classic. Mike Engelbrecht. That's classic. Engel Puke. You know what, though? He could swing a stick, though. He was one of the better hitters on the Bears at the end of the season. Mike Engelbert. It's outstanding. All right, 239-1070. We've got calls to get to, and we're going to get a Raiders angle coming up at the top of the hour. Also involved with Westwood One. Jason Horowitz is the voice of the Las Vegas Raiders. If you watched the way, especially if you're a Bears fan, you probably watched it. You watched the way the Raiders lost last weekend. I would expect the Colts to leave no doubt coming up, especially the way that they lost in Southern California. You don't want to prolong all the back and forth, the negativity with A.D. Mitchell and with Lou Anarumo and the defense and 10 men on the field. And what you want to do is you want to erase it and then come out and put to bed a Raiders team that oftentimes this season, and especially the way that it looked at the end of that game last week, it looks like that they're capable of being put to bed. See, to me, this is the way that everybody becomes on the fence or a non-believer again. If you revert back to old times. I'll give you a great example. Like Daniel Jones, I think everybody takes any sort of blame away from Daniel Jones, even with the 2 interceptions. Going out and losing to a team like this, and again, the Raiders are good. They have decent play. Max Crosby is one of the better players along a defensive line at defensive end you're going to find any place. He is a game wrecker. You cannot have him wreck their game. You legitimize yourself even more with a win over the Raiders and then a win over the Cardinals. Yeah, after that, you go back to L.A., you get the Chargers, and there's another gauge. This, to me, is, all right, maybe even more of a gauge of this team being for real coming off the disappointment of last week than what we witnessed in the Denver game in week 2 here, or even to a degree in Southern California last week. I'm not suggesting you have to reprove anything, but there are a lot of obstacles that caused you to lose on Sunday that you want to erase from some memory banks. And the way that you do it, you beat a team that you should at home coming up on Sunday. We have that conversation coming up for you in the 5 o'clock hour, too. How about Bullseye? I mentioned like 20 minutes. You want to do Bullseye right now? BullseyeEventGroup.com. Colts VIP tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. All you can eat, all you can drink. If you're going to the game, I've got a couple of passes for you. Doors open at 10 a.m. right across Capitol from Lucas Oil Stadium. If you want to go to make sure your game day experience is the best it can be, got a couple of passes for you right here. 239-1070, the BullseyeEventGroup.com, the Colts VIP tailgate, presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. Number 9 is going to go and be there at 10 a.m. for the opening. DJ Skids, Kelsey Murphy. A hell of a time it is, believe me. BullseyeEventGroup.com. Number 9, you win those passes. Back with you next.
All right, Hamilton. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, thank you for joining us. Cubs still with that advantage going on right now. Game 1, best of 3. That is top of the 7th inning, Wrigley Field in Chicago. Suzuki, Kelly go back-to-back and give the Cubs the advantage. We'll keep track of that a little bit. Earlier today, the Tigers 2, the Guardians 1 in Cleveland. That best of 3. And then Red Sox and Yankees tonight at 6 from the Bronx. The Reds and the Dodgers from L.A. tonight. That is at 9 o'clock. Red Legs fans, Hunter Green and Blake Snell. I know, I'm just kind of excited because they're back in it. I realize the whole backing in, the moonwalk stuff, the slap rock attitude, but I am excited that they are in the postseason. And we shall see what they can do against the Dodgers coming up later on tonight. If anything. And the Fever decisive game number 5 coming up later on this evening as well. That is in Las Vegas. Of course, Eddie Garrison has your pregame show beginning at 9:15. Tip time is at 9:30. The winner moves on to the WNBA Finals against the Phoenix Mercury. And for the Fever, it would be improbable. What the hell? You might as well. And Aaliyah Boston coming off just an incredible game. Both she and Kelsey Mitchell. And remember, the Fever do have a win in Vegas, and that was a game in which Kelsey Mitchell went off. Man, do you need a little bit of something like that later on tonight? 9:15, your coverage begins here. Eddie Garrison's got you. Yeah, shout out to Wes Reynolds. He smoked that pitch off of Joey Turner. Joey Turner was the right-handed glasses-wearing pitcher and the son of the coach for the Yankees and the Bad News Bears. That's a hell of a reference right there. What a great movie. JMV, he's not a pacer. That's all that matters. Zero toughness. If he didn't piss down his leg in the finals, he would be a champion and Hallie would have not been hurt. What? Wouldn't have gone 7 games. What? He had the opportunity to be the man and he just proved that he isn't. It's regarding Miles Turner. Yeah, I told you a little bit earlier what's going on with Miles and all this, and I think everybody gets angry at the wrong stuff. As a fan, you get angry. How can he say that about us? What you should direct your anger at would be his exit strategy of thoughts regarding those that he went the distance in an NBA Finals to 7 games with this past year. And in my opinion, the best team that I've ever witnessed around here, my favorite team of all time. To me, you're not allowed to say that. So you're going off to Milwaukee because they are going to keep you competitive. Yeah, what about these dudes you're leaving behind? They're pretty damn competitive. And even without Tyrese Halliburton and high ball screen action for you, good luck with the high ball screen action with Kevin Porter Jr. That sounds fun. That'd be like Malcolm Brogdon Jr. right there. Have fun with that. So I'm more mad at that. If you want to be irritated about that, be irritated about that. I mean, as far as the fans go, his reaction is nothing else a reaction to what he has read over the years in social media. It has nothing to do with Turner's block or the fans in the stadium. It has everything to do with soaking way too much up of social media. That's true. JMV, I think Turner got his feelings hurt after the Pacer fans chanted Thomas Bryant during Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals. After that, he was terrible. Nah, it wasn't that. It had nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with social media and what he reads, and he's also holding a grudge against an organization that constantly had him in trade conversations and also signed somebody else to an offer sheet to replace him. That's what it's all about. But again, don't be mad about from a fan angle and his disgust with that or disgust with the organization. Focus in on his feeling and outgoing comments about the guys that are still here and their level of competitiveness. That's what you should be mad about. Quick break, we'll come back. The voice of the Las Vegas Raiders, you also know him from Westwood One, Jason Horwitz is going to join us coming up here in the 5 o'clock hour. We shall talk about that team, a disappointing loss, a disappointing start to the season. Pete Carroll, their head coach, but a game record defensively. And Max Crosby, Jason Horwitz is going to join us at some point in the 5 o'clock hour. More bullseye passes to give away. Plus, we're going to give you tickets to go see Kansas at Everwise Amphitheater coming up, too. That and more, 5 o'clock hour. Sit tight. Your calls, your H messages. I say H. I meant X. You want some H? That is completely different in meaning right there. Hey, your H messages. Yeah, give me some H. What does that mean in reality?
That means you're asking for heroin.
Really? I do not want your heroin. I do, however, want your X messages. Stream the app, HD Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Back with you next.
JMV.
And the beat goes on, yeah. And the beat goes on.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I know that Asia Wilson gets all the headlines. I think Jackie Young is the toughest to deal with on that team. Vegas in the fever tonight, 9:15. Michelob Ultra Arena in Las Vegas. Leah Boston had an MVP level game number 4 performance over the weekend. 9:15, Eddie Garrison has you, and that is coming up later on tonight. Game 5, and the winner gets Phoenix in the WNBA Finals. Again, that tip time tonight is at 9:30. Win Schuler's spreadability is back inside your favorite grocer's refrigerator. Original sharp cheddar, bacon and cheddar, and jalapeno pepper, one of the group's favorites right here, by the way, too. Win Schuler's is good for crackers, for chips, for vegetables, even on burgers. The spreadability is back for the football season and the fall of 2025. Thank you all for being on the lookout for what is essential to whatever you're doing. Tailgate, party, just simple snacking on the couch. Win Schuler's spreadability. Find it in your favorite grocer's refrigerator. Yes, do that today. JMV, do people forget the ongoing trade rumors Miles dealt with? I wouldn't be surprised if he did have a bad taste in his mouth with the franchise. There is zero, to me, that is as big a part of it as anything. It is that, and it is the social media stuff that he has read over the years. And read, certainly magnified in just how bad he was for the most part of the NBA Finals. Like, he's not thinking about you cheering for him as a member of Turner's Block or at the games at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. He's thinking about, after a bad game, what he goes home and reads. Again, the whole focus of this is wrong for you. If you're mad because you're a fan, fine. I'd be more mad about what he had to say about his thoughts on the competitive level of Milwaukee compared to the place that he is leaving. And big-time fan of this group, and especially the group that remains, too. Shout out to my man Steve Bodner. I know you wish you were at Pickle on Penn having hummus at the kitchen after playing pickleball. You know, last week was the first time I'd ever played pickleball. It was such an outstanding time. Shout out to Steve and Kelly. What a great time that it was at Pickle on Penn. If you're there all the time, if you go back, let me know when you do. And that's not going to be the last time I play pickleball. Pickleball's a good time. I will say this. I think I'm going to be better at pickleball if I'm out there by myself than I am doing doubles. Because the one thing I found it tough to work with was with somebody else. When to hit it, when to not hit it, when to defer and let somebody else do it. But it was one hellaciously awesome time. Shout out to Steve and Kelly and our friends at Pickle on Penn for having us last week. Here is hoping that we're going to be back there again sometime soon. Outstanding. JMV, you're going to be looking out for Matherin deserving an extension. I want to see what Matherin can do. I'm very excited, and not just as that ultimate gauge to see, whether or not he is going to be here and get paid long-term dollars. But I want to see how he is when he has, like, the expectations are now coming to a head. And not just the expectations, but the need. We're going to find out exactly who he is. I'm very excited about that. As I mentioned, I was at Pacer Media Day yesterday. And I thought among those that were talking, he had some of the more interesting commentary about his own game, what he has learned, and then now what he is about to put to good use, because the focus is going to be on him unlike ever before. and just how necessary it's going to be to see him play and perform on both ends. I'm very excited about that. Listen, as much as I want to see Tyrese Halliburton out there, and we all do, as much as I want to see that, I am very excited to see how this team responds, because there is a lot that is the same. Now, certainly it's magnified because you're without clearly your best player, but a lot is the same. And when Rick Carlisle had talked about, making sure you keep it simple, maintaining that fast pace, running, man, that's what I wanted to hear. I'm very excited about seeing the team that's going to be out there do that. Jay Huff was in there with his conversation yesterday. A new pacer, but I'm very interested. Mathurin is probably at the top of my list. Like, there are two things: Nembhard being able to run the team, to push tempo, and to also guard night in and night out the opposition's team's best wing player, but also Mathurin, and if he's ever going to be what everybody hopes he can be, now certainly is the time. Raiders Colts coming up this weekend. The ride to kickoff at the Bullseye eventgroup.com Colts VIP tailgate starts at 9 a.m. Colts pregame huddle is underway from Touchdown Town at 10 a.m. Of course, we work with Matt Taylor. On the other side, the radio voice of the Las Vegas Raiders, Jason Horowitz. And Jason's kind enough to join us now on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Hey, Jason, thank you for the time. How are you?
Fantastic. A little still disappointed from Sunday. Feels like when a team's trying to become a good team and they let one slip away that they should have won, it's kind of disappointing, but it happened.
Yeah, the operation, you go back and look at that, the way that went down in that block. Where did the operation fail from your eyeballs?
You mean just on the field goal?
Yeah, in general, yeah.
By all accounts, from everybody from Chicago, from the guy who blocked the kick to some of the comments in the locker room afterwards, it sounds like our long snapper, Jacob Bobenmeyer, who has been with our special teams coordinator both in Denver and now in Las Vegas for a few years, sounds like he was tipping off his snap. And so, it's such a bang-bang thing, inches and quarter of a second and all that stuff. So if they get the jump because they knew right when to go, they timed the snap, they got around the corner and blocked the kick. So it sounds like the operation failed more from a signal and a planning perspective, not necessarily an execution perspective.
So this is something where Liam Cohen would be outraged, the Jacksonville head coach.
I'm not saying that.
What's funny about it, though, Jason, is if there is the smallest of openings and a weakness in a team, these guys are going to find it more times than not. They really are.
Yeah, no question. I mean, it's funny how I always have said, and my old partner Lincoln Kennedy, and I have a new partner this year, Kirk Morrison, and both those guys are so awesome. But Lincoln and I used to say, I'm like, football's not hard, right? You have to score more than the other opponent, and you have to beat your guy in front of you. But that's not always true, because the amount of money these people are paid and the amount of time they spend trying to get that one tiny detail, you got to commend them for that. And obviously our special teams will change things up. The other part of all this is that Raiders have special teams. We have taken for granted just how good it has been this is my fourth year. And my entire career with the Raiders, the special teams unit has been top notch.
Yeah.
That's changed this year. The return game, the punt return for a touchdown allowed in Washington was the first in 7 years. We've had some issues with the kickoff, with the new kickoff rule, and we've had some issues here with field goal units. So it's been a little bit different this year than it has been the past few years, but I'm going to guess they're going to get it fixed.
Jason Horowitz joins us. He's the voice of the Raiders on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. It's funny. You look at those small details that on tape somebody's going to find and then exploit. And then on the other hand, you have the Colts in L.A. this past Sunday, who on the biggest play of the game, well, not the biggest play of the game, but certainly against their defense, the biggest play of the game, where Tutu Atwell still running basically to El Segundo, The Colts had 10 guys on the field. They have 9 million coaches, I'm assuming, to be able to count that up, and you roll out there on your biggest defensive play with 10 guys. So I guess it's in the moment for a lot of this stuff, is it not, Jason?
Well, and then it's communication, right? It's no different than what we tell my 8-year-old, my 4-year-old, and my 12-year-old. You over communicate, right? The better you can communicate, the better things go. And in that situation, it's the same thing too. But I'd say this though: you guys didn't lose the game on that. You guys lost the game on a holding and a fumble at the goal line and some other plays. Daniel Jones' first bad plays of the year, and so yes, that's the one that kind of feels like how'd that happen. But I would say the Colts and the Raiders equally gave away games this weekend that they should have won.
Well, we're here with special teams with the Raiders for a moment, too. Historically speaking, does Pete Carroll have a top-notch special teams unit when you look back at his career in the NFL?
Oh, man, I don't know that I know that. I would say yes because, the kicker for the Seahawks has been there for a long time, and he's one of the best in the NFL. I don't know so much about their history of their punters, to be honest with you. So I'm not positive about that.
Yeah, it's weird because I just wonder because you have somebody taking over and how much because you mentioned that the history of having a top level special teams is all with Carlson in mind. We've seen that here before, Jason, too, and I just kind of wonder if the change in coaches and staffs and maybe philosophies can lead to an upgrade in one area and a downgrade in another.
The special teams coordinator is the same though. So that part hasn't changed. Tom McMahon stayed from last year, and obviously our entire unit, long snapper, kicker, punter, the kicker and the punter have been together for 7 years, and the long snapper, this is his 3rd or 4th year with the Raiders. So that hasn't changed. I guess philosophy from the top down could have, but the special teams coordinator part of it hasn't. And when you guys, this is my 4th year, it'll be my 3rd year playing the Colts. The Jeff Saturday win in Las Vegas, and then the Gardner Minshew to keep the Colts playoff hopes alive 2 years ago. But you guys, when you were in Las Vegas in 2022, it was also part of a Daniel Carlson 41 consecutive made field goal attempts in a row. It was the 3rd longest in NFL history at the time. So he was well into that part.
Yeah, we know a great deal about Tom McMahon around here as well. So I mean, it's interesting just how that whole dynamic is at work. So the team so far, Jason, to you has looked like what? There are moments where you go, "Oh wow, you know what? They have it," and then other moments maybe not so much. Is that kind of what you expected going into this year?
No, to be honest, it's not what I expected. The defense has been far superior to what I think people expected. Max Crosby had a Hall of Fame effort on Sunday. But the reality before Sunday was Max's numbers were fine, but a lot of the big plays happened, in the 2 games before where they were pretty much already a foregone conclusion against the Chargers and the Commanders. But that was not the case Sunday. And the reality is the Commanders game was the outlier. Our defense has put together 3 outstanding football games. Like for people who didn't watch the Raiders game, Colts fans were watching the Colts-Rams. Raiders-Bears, it's going to look like, well, they gave up 25 points. How good was the defense? And the reality was the Raiders offense turned it over 3 times in the first half where the Bears possessions started from the Raiders 25 and in. And the Bears only came away with 6 points out of those 3 possessions. That's how good the defense was. And not a first down. So that's how good the Raiders defense was for 3.5 quarters against the Bears. And then they got worn down. So you have 4 turnovers that led to 13 Bears points. All 4 the Bears started on the plus side of the 50. So the Raiders defense has been outstanding 3 of the 4 games. But at no point after week 1 have they put anything together consistently. Geno Smith turnovers, 2 of the 3 games have been a major problem when the defense has bailed them out. And then in week 3, the offense was for the most part fine, but the defense let them down and special teams let them down. So none of it has worked together yet. And that's why they're 1-3.
Chip Kelly has been as what you thought, just out of curiosity. What'd you think about him coming in compared to the first month of the season? And I know it's still, you're going to say a work in progress, and I think we can all see that, but what was the expectation coming in?
Well, the expectation is you're going to run the football. Chip Kelly, you bring in Chip Kelly Obviously, he's a creative mind, and his offenses have worked at every level, from New Hampshire to Oregon to the Eagles. Maybe not so much the 1 year with the 49ers, but, he had much less talent at UCLA than everybody else in that time, the Pac-12, and they were going to bowl games, and then obviously he left to go win a national championship as a coordinator at Ohio State. So his offenses have worked everywhere. But they've always been predicated on creative run plays and explosive run plays. In the first 3 weeks, that didn't happen. The Raiders last year were dead last in the NFL in running the football, and we were 30th through 3 weeks running the football. But this past week, that was a totally different story. And part of it was an Ashton Genty 64-yard touchdown run. But if you run for 240 yards, you're running at a heavy clip. Even if you get a 60-yard run, the rest of it's still 6-7 yards a carry. And so they were running the heck out of the football. And so I think that's going to be the goal moving forward. The offensive line certainly is the work in progress, and we don't know the status of Colton Miller. The best player on our offensive line left the second to last play against the Bears and was carted off, and they said it was an ankle sprain. So that's certainly a question mark for not just Sunday, but for a couple of weeks. And so now you got to patch it together. The good news is Ashton Genty is breaking more tackles than anybody else in the NFL. Jonathan Taylor might be second. So that's the good news. The bad news is the first 3 weeks he had to break those tackles 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, Genty is one, and then I look at Bowers as somebody else that potentially can give the Colts a lot of problems. I did want a hard target, Jason, here. Jeremy Chinn, big fan of Jeremy Chinn, local product, and you'd mentioned defensively how the Raiders have played most consistently so far. Where has he been as a part of that equation to this point?
Yeah, consistent. Jeremy, I really enjoyed getting the chance to talk to Jeremy a couple times during training camp and preseason games, and his perspective on going to Washington last year, where you had a bunch of guys who were experienced veterans coming together with a new head coach, and Dan Quinn, who's got his philosophy on defense, and then he's doing it again now with the Raiders. It's him, and it's Devin White, and it's Jamal Adams, and it's Landon Roberts, it's a Jermaine Pratt. It's a bunch of veterans who have been individually or as a team successful other places, coming together on short contracts with the Raiders and Patrick Graham, who's our coordinator for our fourth year, and they're playing really well. They have forced a turnover in every game. They were chasing down Caleb Williams the whole time. Jeremy Chinn is very versatile. He is playing certainly a safety, but he's also playing linebacker at times. He's playing close to the line. He's moving all over the place. Big nickel. So he's played well. And the unit is playing well. So we go back to what we said a little bit ago about communication. I think despite all the new pieces together, with the exception of the Washington game, this group has done that very well.
Jason Horowitz joins us. He's the play-by-play voice of the Raiders. You've got the Colts and the Raiders coming up this weekend. And Jason's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline with us. I guess it's worth mentioning you brought up Max Crosby, and with the history with the Raiders, no matter their location of defensive linemen, defensive ends that have been difference makers, where might he rank in this point in his career?
There's a conversation because, when Micah Parsons got traded, it's like, oh, he's the best player on the defense in the NFL. He's, been a defensive player of the year. He's finished top 5 every year, whatever it is. And some will go to Myles Garrett. Some turn to TJ Watt. The thing I would say about Max Crosby, though, that is different between he and the other guys that are in the league at that position is that the reality is Max has not been part of a unit that has players like him until, and he has somehow figured out a way to make everyone else a bona fide player. And I think that is what speaks volumes to Max as much as anything else. Like, his numbers stand out. He's got the most, tackles for loss in the NFL since he came in the league. He's up there top 3 in sacks since he came in. Like, all those things point to Hall of Fame guy, right? And he is, he looks like the face of the franchise. He looks like the logo.
Yeah.
Right. So all those things are why Max is who he is. But you could have asked 2-3 years ago, give me another player on the Raiders defense. And I'd say 2 years ago, people couldn't have done that. And I say that in a positive because after Josh McDaniels got fired and Antonio Pierce took over as the interim, the Raiders had the best defense in the NFL those last 9 games. And people could point to Max, but they couldn't point to anybody else. And you talk to Max as to why they're all working that well. And so I would say he is up there as one of those 2 or 3 best defensive players in the NFL. But I would also say you look at all the best players on the defense in the NFL right now, and other than Micah Parsons, you got to find, well, T.J. Watt, certainly the Steelers have been in the playoffs and winning records every year under Mike Tomlin, but you got to find me another team who's got the best defensive player who feels good about their chances going to the Super Bowl. And the answer is not many, because most of those teams don't have a quarterback.
Final quick question, and then I'll let you run here. Matchup-wise, what are you thinking about this Raiders-Colts game coming up Sunday?
By the way, I want to caveat one thing here, too. Not that the Raiders don't have a quarterback. He's not playing well. That's a different story, right? Geno Smith the last 3 years has been very good. He just, at the moment, has got to take care of the turnovers. All signs point to the Colts, right? But I do think the Raiders are starting to figure out how to run the football. And if you can run the football and you can control the line of scrimmage, then I think you start to feel a little bit better about staying in a football game. And I think I have to believe that Geno Smith is going to figure it out. He's too good to struggle this badly with turnovers. And if he does figure it out, I got to believe the Raiders are going to be in this football game. Our defense is very good. Max Crosby is going to give anybody he faces a difficult time. And so I think it's going to come down to the wire, just like it did a couple of years ago with Lucas Oil at the end of the season. The question is, who's going to make that final play? And I know everyone going into this game is going to say, hey, the Colts are back at home. They're coming off a game they feel they should have won. They're the better team right now, all those things. But the Raiders feel the same way. And I wonder what this line would be, and I wonder what the feelings would be if the Raiders beat the Bears and only had 2 turnovers instead of 4. And I think you'd have a different conversation. So I think the Raiders will be in there. I just wonder who's going to make that final play to win the game.
Jason Horowitz joins us. He is the play-by-play voice of the Raiders, and, of course, the Raiders and the Colts, the matchup this weekend of the NFL. And Jason's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, man. Get to it. You got family stuff to go to. I appreciate you dropping in today, man, as always, and hopefully we'll do it again soon. Have a great call and enjoy your time here in Indy this weekend.
I look forward to being there. Take care.
You got it. Jason Horowitz right there on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. A lot of interesting dynamics at play there. This is a game, and I thought this is what I gathered from Jason talking about the Raiders presently, is that this is a game that the Colts should, and we'll see if the Raiders have any step-up involved, especially the way in which they lost that game to the Bears last week. Jason Horowitz on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Quick break. We'll come back. We have a busy afternoon and a busy evening of sports. We'll make sure you're on top of absolutely everything. 239-1070 is the number. The text line, you can get in as well. 317-239-1070. The stream, the app, it's HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge. Become a AAA member today. What are you thinking if you aren't? AAA.com to become a member. Fall break is not too far away here, everybody. Make sure somebody has your back. That's AAA. AAA.com. Become a member today. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Hey, John, for BullseyeEventGroup.com, the Colts VIP tailgate, all you can eat, all you can drink, Skids. Yeah, he's the guy that gets all the mini mixes for the JMV takeover together. Skids is going to entertain you. You have TVs, entertainment, indoor, outdoor. It is awesome. Right across the street from Lucas Oil Stadium, game day experience, boom, made just by attending. Log on right now, get your passes. This is, say, for example, you need tickets to the game. You can combo that up, too, with BullseyeEventGroup.com. And for good measure, how about this? 239-1070. If you would like 2 passes to attend the Colts VIP tailgate, presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration, that is this Sunday, doors open at 10 a.m. If you would like 2 passes to BullseyeEventGroup.com, number 9 at 239-1070, I will get you in the door. All you can eat, all you can drink. It's a great time, indoor, outdoor, going to be a great day for you before that Raider game. BullseyeEventGroup.com. Number 9 is a winner, and if you don't win, log on and make sure you're a part of the event. It's BullseyeEventGroup.com. If you want your real growing hair, it's WeGrowHairIndy.com. Darren Andrews, 317-522-2995. It is remarkable. If you're losing your hair right now, I also say this. If you want to be bald, be bald. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want your real growing hair again, you want that as an option, make the call. Talk to Darren Andrews about that. Do that today. 317-522-2995. Now's a great time as well. And again, the technology, the innovations, you can continue that real, and I mean real hair growth. 317-522-2995. WeGrowHairIndy.com today.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, welcome back. Kirk Morrison, the former Raider, former NFL player, color analyst, going to join us coming up on tomorrow's show. Lance McAllister also tomorrow. Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day coming up in just a second as well. 50 in betting, 50 in dining, courtesy of Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino and Anderson. The Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day in a smidge. But crank this up because he is standing by in Las Vegas, Nevada. Michelob Ultra Arena. Chris Hagan of Fox 59 for the Fever and the Aces. Game 5 encounter. Good afternoon out there, Chris.
Fever, Las Vegas. I coined that phrase, just like I coined the phrase, kiss the bricks and beat the Knicks, and I still have not made a penny from either, but here we are.
No, that's well done. I thought the Fever Las Vegas was pretty good right there.
Because also I liked Dream Fever. Ooh,
yeah.
Dream. Right now, to be honest with you, we're sitting courtside here at the Michelob Ultra. If I lived here, I'd just call it the Mick, but we're here at Michelob Ultra Arena, and Brett and I actually are sitting courtside in between news hits, and we're trying to get the Cubs through this last out here.
Yeah.
Because truth be told, we bet on the Cubs when they were losing 1-0 and got some good odds. So if we can get this last pitch here, I don't know if you're ahead of me or not.
Yes.
Is the game over yet?
It is not. It is not. And, now it is. Bogarts just got called out. Game over. Yeah.
I like how you and I on the radio just talk like we're on the phone.
No, I know. Exactly. No, well, you got a great back-to-back. Suzuki and Kelly go back-to-back, and then you had that sack fly to make it 3-1. But, yeah, Cubs get game number 1 after trailing 1-0 early.
Well, there you have it. But now let's talk a little hoops here because this is a cool arena. It's a cool venue. They're a 2-time champion. They have the MVP, and they are super salty after losing Game 4 back in Indy. So you're going to get all they have tonight. But the Fever somehow, through 3 times facing elimination, 3-0 in elimination games this playoffs, and now just 1 win away from getting back to the finals for the first time in a decade.
Yeah, and you got some stuff going on around the WNBA today as well. You know, you got a game number 5 in their semifinals, and then, the WNBA kind of being the WNBA.
I mean, they had the goose that laid the golden egg, and she got hurt, and somehow the Fever have still managed to get here. And then you can't just enjoy the prosperity of you have the inmates trying to run the asylum and run out the commissioner, and the commissioner hasn't done herself any favors either. So a lot to get through when this off season comes, when it should be the time to celebrate. After tonight, we'll know the 2 teams in the finals, but instead you got a lot of drama going on. And even talking to Stephanie White yesterday, when I was not trying to get her fined, but make light of get her to talk about the referee, she said, well, I've already been fined. I got fined for defending Cheryl Reeve after she went completely postal and went off on the fans and the refs and everything. So it is a situation where I think Fever fans were bringing it up last year, the physicality of the game as Caitlin was dealing with that. But now it's league-wide. You have superstars that are getting pummeled and taken out of the game, and it's, I know you want to, in some of the commercials, they kind of glamorize the physicality of the game, but, it's been to the detriment here lately to the league.
Yeah, you got, Game 5 tonight, and then, one of the league's best players with a team that's been eliminated in the Lynx, Nafisha Collier, saying what she said about the WNBA's leadership and the commissioner earlier today. Yeah, most other leagues in professional sports would absolutely hate that was said in general, but certainly the timing of it is not ideal.
Well, here's what the deal is. Either she is misquoting the commissioner, and the commissioner didn't say things like that, or the commissioner completely thought it was like an off-the-record conversation with a superstar, like, hey, here's the deal, blah, blah, blah. So either way, if the commissioner, you're looking like a complete jackass right now.
Yeah, I don't know how this is going to work moving forward. Seems like that they were not prepared for all that has transpired over the past year plus in that league.
And we've seen this in the NBA with Stern. We've seen this in the NFL with Goodell. We've seen it with some bad leadership. I mean, the commissioner of a league is enormous. When you talk about bargaining with the players, bargaining with the networks, there's so many things that go into it. You can't just be a figurehead or a talking head. You have to have something special because that is the most important position in any sports league, I believe, is the commissioner.
Yeah, they also just came up with a USA Networks deal, I believe, for the postseason as well. But anyway, away from that and a decisive game, number 5. Yeah, more of what we witnessed in Game 4, certainly. And we also remember when Kelsey Mitchell went off once upon a time in this series, game number 1 in Las Vegas. So we're also thinking about that in this Game 5 matchup as a possibility tonight, too.
Yeah, I mean, in big games, playoff games, you need your superstars to be superstars, and that's what Kelsey Mitchell's done, and that's what Aaliyah Boston did in Game 4. I mean, you just look at, she stuffed the stats, points, rebounds, assists, blocks, steals. I mean, she was doing it all, and you'll need more of that tonight. But the game inside the game, and this is something you'll hear coming up on Fox 59, I talked about with the players and Steph, is that you can game plan for a lot of things. You can't game plan for the whistle. You know, are they going to call this tight? Are they going to be like it has been? I know that the Aces made a lot of noise about how the free throw discrepancy in Game 4, 34 free throws for the Fever, 11 for the Aces. 11 against 34 free throws. So I don't know, you know, they always say that's not a case. Are there makeup calls? Is there a makeup whistle tonight for Asia Wilson? Obviously, many consider the best female basketball player in the world. So I think and that's what they told us. You'll find out early how it's going to be officiated. And Steph said she doesn't mind if they call it tighter or looser. She just wants it to be the same the entire game. And that's what a lot of the players in the league have said. Like, there's no consistency with how they're calling a game. And tonight, let's face it, it's the last game before the finals. Phoenix awaits the winner. Everything on the line. And as we've seen before with local teams, including the Pacers, just get to that deciding game, and you have a chance. No matter who you're facing, no matter where you're playing, who knows what could happen tonight. And it's been a long time coming for the Fever to get back to the mountaintop there. It's
Chris Hagan has you covered on Fox 59. And I know Asia Wilson goes without saying always either the MVP or in the running. I think, to me, and maybe it's because who's your native talking it up, I think Jackie Young has been every bit as huge in what they have done so far, not just in this series, but, you know, coming back from having a lackluster season to get where they are right now than really anybody on that team.
And she does things that you can see, like we take pride in. She plays basketball like somebody from Indiana. She makes great decisions, obviously a great shot, and just somebody that knows ball and knows how to get after it. And, hasn't been the best of seasons for her, but when the money's on the line, you often see a player like that. It won't be the superstar. I mean, it might be Alexi Holt tonight, who comes up with 3 or 4 threes when you need them, the way she got after the ball, despite having a back issue in Game 4. I mean, she was diving on the court when the game was still on the line, diving on the court, finding an outlet pass. So it's always players like that. You may see the big numbers from the superstars, but who's going to come in off the bench and score 12 points? Who's going to come in and get a steal or take a charge? So that's what makes games like this so exciting. And, regular season game, you kind of halfway paying attention. Oh, what's the score? Oh, it's the third quarter. But a game like tonight, every possession is critical. Every foul call is critical, and every free throw. So I think you're going to get the best the Aces have to offer. They're about an 8-point favorite. Since we're in Vegas, we'll tell you about it. About an 8-point favorite. And so they're clearly the favorite to win this game in their own building. But it wouldn't be the first time that the Fever have beaten the odds this season, especially when you think about they go in with such high hopes this year and so much, expectation. You get 13 games out of Caitlin Clark. You have other season-ending injuries, and you don't make the playoffs until the last week of the season. You sneak in there as the 6th seed, and now here you are. You have the 2 seed on the ropes with this ragtag roster that's mixed in with some of the superstars that you expect to be playing at a high level.
It's Chris Hagan of Fox 59 at the Michelob Ultra Arena in Las Vegas, where he and Brett, they await game number 5 between the Fever and the Aces of Las Vegas tonight. 9:30 is that tip. 9:15 your coverage with Eddie Garrison right here on the Fan. And again, it's worth noting, it's a make or miss situation, as it normally is in basketball terms, in big games, in lower level games, whatever. But tonight, you do have the comfort of knowing Aaliyah Boston had her best game, really, of the postseason. the last game. You mentioned Kelsey Mitchell back in game number 1 in Vegas having her best game. You really need a mesh of both of those with your two best players tonight.
Yeah, the Fever scored 90, and they got 50 or 49 from the two superstars. So that's what you need. And I talked with Aaliyah yesterday, and I said, hey, you have to step up in big games. Do you feel pressure to do it again? And she's like, no, I don't feel pressure. I'm just going to go play. So that's the mentality you see from a lot of these elite level players. They don't approach it like, oh, I have to go. They're just like, I'm going to go play. And when they play their game, that's what can happen. And, what kind of it takes me a second to get on the stool because I'm under 5 feet tall guy I am. But Kelsey Mitchell is shorter than I am. And, I mean, just see her game and how she'll ball and go into the paint if she needs to. She'll knock down a three. I mean, she's just a flat-out baller. And remember, maybe a lot of recent fans got on the bandwagon with the Fever. She was on some really, really bad Fever teams. She's the longest tenured player on the roster. And so she talked about how much she's grown as a person and as a player getting to this point in this stage. So I think it's a great stage for her tonight to go out there and maybe have another signature game and advance this thing on.
Yeah, no doubt about that. That's Chris Hagan of Fox 59. He is in Las Vegas with all the coverage you need, both pre and post from Vegas, and going to be back in time to hit up on a Friday at Binkley's in Broad Ripple on a Bud Light Blue Friday.
Now, John, it's a long-honored tradition. Whenever I've called you on the air from Las Vegas, I do this. Usually I'm not sober, but today I am. I always ask you, I say red or black, and I go straight to a roulette wheel, and I bet what you say for $50.
Black.
And hoping that you're, wow, I didn't even get the question out, and you're going black.
Sorry.
All right. Well, I will tweet
Black.
out. I will illegally take a picture of where the ball ends in the roulette wheel.
Yeah, please do.
And
I'm going with Wesley Snipes
tonight.
right here. Always bet on black.
I will tweet it out. Yesterday there was this guy holding a sign like helping people know where to go, and I couldn't decide if I was going to bet on Jets or Dolphins. So I said, hey man, Jets or Dolphins? And he goes, Jets. And I said, he said it with such conviction. I'm on the Jets. Well, guess what? There's a reason he's standing there holding the sign because he picked the Jets, and they were a straight up loser. But I went and told him today he owed me $100, and he laughed at me.
I'm sure he did.
All right. Well, it's been a great story for the Fever this year. Hopefully this is just another chapter tonight and not the end of the book. But we'll see coming up here in a few hours.
All right. Pre and post game on Fox 59 with Chris Hagan out in Las Vegas for decisive Game 5 of the WNBA semifinals with the Fever and the Aces. Chris, thank you very much, brother.
All right, Johnny. See you later.
We'll see Chris on Friday. Binkley's in Broad Ripple coming up on Friday. Parks Place Pub, Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots. That is coming up on Thursday with Matt and Brent Holverson and I on Thursday at Parks Place. Cannot wait for that in Fishers. Meantime, 50 in betting, 50 in dining, courtesy of Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino. That is in Anderson. You got your horse ready? We're good to go. Here it is. Your Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day.
second to get on the stool because he's under 5 feet tall.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Harris Park race of the day. Jason Cornman, the Corn Man, the winner. Well done, Corn Man. The pride of Ellettsville, Indiana, Corn Man. Winning horse was this J.K. Rocks. Paid $4.20 on a $2 bet. The $2 exact at $19.20. The 50-cent trifecta, $29.80. The Corn Man, the winner of your Harrah's Hoosier Park race of the day. We do this Tuesday through Friday, and we do this in the 5 o'clock hour. You pick a horse, and the winner ends up getting 50 in betting, 50 in dining from Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. How about this as well? Kansas, the band, and Jefferson Starship together, James? Everwise Amphitheater. You guys plan on going October the 10th, coming up at Everwise Amphitheater. Going to be a great time, I promise you that. Here's number 9 at 239-1070. If you're number 9 right now, you can go see Kansas and Jefferson Starship on us. The classics for you. Everwise Amphitheater, downtown. Number 9 at 239-1070. You are a winner. Should be fun. And speaking of winners, Win Schuler's Spreadability. Win Schuler's, find it in your favorite grocer's refrigerator. Yeah, original bacon and cheddar, sharp cheddar, jalapeno pepper. It is Win Schuler's Spreadability for just that time when you're snacking and watching some baseball maybe. Or when you're really getting serious and having yourself a tailgate or two or a weekend function, a weekend party, make it Win Schuler's Spreadability. Win Schuler's. Find it, I know this to be true, at your local Meijer and your Gordon Food Service. And if you do see it, make sure you snap a picture of it and send it to us. That is Win Schuler's Spreadability. Back for the football season and back for the fall of 2025. I mentioned the Cubs win. They get back-to-back home runs from Suzuki and Kelly in the bottom of the 5th inning, and then a sac fly score later on in the game. 3-1 was the final over the Padres. They take game 1, best of 3 at Wrigley Field in Chicago, NL wildcard round. Earlier in the afternoon, it was the Tigers 2, the Guardians 1, so they are now up a game in that best of 3 in Cleveland. Game number 2 coming up tomorrow as well. So I believe you got that game 2 at 1 tomorrow in the AL, and then the Padres and Cubs game 2 coming up tomorrow at 3 o'clock once again. You've got the Red Sox and Yankees. First pitch is about 9 minutes away from the Bronx. And then the Reds and the Dodgers later on tonight for you. 9 o'clock is that start. That is Hunter Green versus Blake Snell. Reds back in the postseason. Leave the year since Pete Rose passed away. And Hunter Green gets the ball as the Reds are back in the postseason. We talked about Major League Baseball's postseason and the startup with Tucker Barnhart, the former Major Leaguer, a little bit earlier. A podcast at 1075thefan.com with Tucker Barnhart, with Greg Rakestraw, and Jason Horowitz, who is the voice of the Las Vegas Raiders. I should say this, too. He's also a part of the Raiders radio network. The former player Kirk Morrison is going to join us on tomorrow's show. That's at 3:30. A little bit more insight for you from a former player standpoint. With the Raiders and the Colts coming up on Sunday, Kirk Morrison's going to be on this show tomorrow. Pat Boylan with Fever Decisive Game 5 recap. Pat, the voice of the Fever, joins us tomorrow at about 3:10. I know Kevin Bowen in the 5 o'clock hour, and we have reached out, and Lance McAllister, the big one in Cincinnati, will join us coming up tomorrow in the 5 o'clock hour. Should be a really good time, a really good day to soak up a lot of what is going on. It's really awesome to have this time of year. The only thing that is missing is the NBA, for example. I mean, I know you had the Fever still playing and game number 5 later on tonight, but I love this time of year because there is so stinking much going on. Absolute beautiful thing. And don't forget about the Pacers sooner rather than later start, I believe, next Tuesday. They start their preseason. Pacers had their media day yesterday. Hey, JMV, this is from the text line. 317-239-1070. Let's not forget we have Isaiah Jackson back and healthy. He will be a big-time player this year, and hopefully that's the case. I mentioned Huff, who made his Pacers Media Day debut yesterday in Huff, and you'll find out a little bit more coming off that injury to Isaiah Jackson and, Wiseman back in the fold, as well as Tony Bradley. We'll start things up in camp, and we'll see exactly how things go for the Pacers moving on in. Again, a season in its entirety without Tyrese Halliburton, but to me, a season with incredible intrigue. I don't have the highest of expectations, but holy hell do I have expectations for this group still. Very excited about that. James, thank you very much today. Everybody that's been involved, you guys have been fantastic. My thanks to Chris Hagan, who joined us just in front of the Fever and the Aces in game number 5 tonight from Vegas. Again, you can catch Hagan pre- and post-game wrap-up for you. That is on Fox 59. Chris Hagan of Fox 59 joined us. Jason Horwitz, who is the voice of the Las Vegas Raiders. Tucker Barnhart, former Major Leaguer. Greg Rakestraw on the show. All podcasts, 1075thefan.com. We'll be with you tomorrow. We'll talk up everything, and I'm sure a little Reds and Dodgers conversation coming at you as well tomorrow. In studio, we start at 3. Thank you all for joining us. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Have a great night. Enjoy.